We have with us the Ford Ranger XLT. Let's take a look. The XLT is the middle variant of the Ranger lineup in the Philippines, and we think this is one of the best pickup trucks you can buy today. This is actually around the same price or a little bit cheaper than some of its rivals. The 2023 Ford Ranger XLT is priced at 1,374,000 Philippine pesos. Let's talk exterior first, because this Ranger XLT is just classic pickup truck with its rugged look and simple details compared to the wild truck we reviewed last year. We still get in front Ford signature C-clamp LED DRLs, multi-reflector LED headlights, and below, some halogen fog lights. The large grille gets a chrome bar which adds to its rugged appearance. The side features the same beefy appearance, and what we really like here are the smaller 17-inch alloy wheels, which in our opinion looks perfect for this truck. They are wrapped in 255/70 Bridgestone tires, and you'll find disc brakes in front and drums at the rear. Ground clearance is set at 235mm with a water wading capacity of 800mm. And moving towards the back, you'll see steps that help for easier bed access. The rear itself features some simple halogen taillights. Not a huge fan, but I guess it's okay. The Ranger name is also nicely stamped on the tailgate, and once you open that, it reveals a larger bed with a more rectangular shape, allowing for better space management. A bed liner is also already standard here. Overall, despite being a mid-spec truck, you won't feel it with the Ranger XLT. It perfectly balances simplicity with style and utility. Now we're inside the Ranger XLT, and first things first, let's start the vehicle. So as you can see here, here's the key. It's the older Ford key, flip key. So we actually have to put the key in the ignition and turn it to start. So this doesn't come with push button start yet. There we go. So now let's talk about everything here. As you can see here, just like the Ranger Wild Track we reviewed, everything here looks really good. The interior really is a huge departure from the previous generation, and in this case for the XLT, we do have a little bit cheaper, a little bit of cheaper materials. Not that cheap feeling, but they are all hard touch plastic. So here in the dashboard, hard touch plastic. On top, hard touch plastic. On the doors though, we still do have soft touch here on top, and more hard touch plastic on the side. This also comes on the sport variant. Then of course we still have leather for the armrest on the door. Then also I'd like to add that we do keep the storage here, this large storage over here where we can put our wallet or some other stuff. And then here on top we did lose the upper glove compartment, so unfortunately we no longer get that here, but at least we still do have our normal one down there. Also, we also lose the cup holders on the bottom of the aircon vents on the side, but we do have new storage areas there as well, so at least it is a win-win. And then for the steering wheel, we still have the same steering wheel of course, and it's also leather wrapped, which is really nice. Then also it is still tilt and telescopic, which is of course really nice and very much appreciated. Then over here we have our controls for our cruise control, speed limiter, volume and voice control. On the right, our instrument cluster controls, and our song selection buttons. Then speaking of the instrument cluster, we have here an 8-inch digital instrument cluster. It's fully digital except for the engine temperature and fuel gauge, so it does show us lots of information. This is exactly the same as what you'd get on the Wild Track and some Ford Everest variants. It's really nice, and it doesn't look like your traditional analog gauge, which is also really good. Then of course it shows us lots of information, our fuel economy, off-road information, towing, interestingly, and then audio and lots more such as our settings. So yeah, that looks really good. And then here in the center we have our 10-inch or 10.1 if I'm not mistaken touchscreen infotainment system, which uses Ford's new Sync 4A system. So it's really good actually. I'm not usually a fan of these portrait touchscreen, but in this case it's really good. We do have of course Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as you can see right over there. Really good looking of course, and we can even adjust the screen size. Then of course the screen is very responsive, which is also really good. This is one good thing about Ford's screen, so they're really responsive. There's hardly any lag. It's actually like using an iPad or a large smartphone. Then also found here our aircon control, so you can adjust our temperature over there, our fan speed over here. There we go. So it's very easy to use once you get used to it. When you are new to this, it will be a bit confusing, but now that I'm kind of used to it, it's very easy to use. And of course, if you don't want to use those on-screen controls, you can actually use these knobs down here, which is really good. So this is another improvement over the previous generation because it didn't have knobs. So now we do have fan speed and temperature knobs, although most controls are still on the screen. Also, we have a volume knob in the middle, so that's another really good thing. Then moving down, we have our USB ports. We have two, one USB-A and one USB-C, and a wireless phone charger. Then down here, we have our stability control off button and our drive mode selector. So when you press that, you will see that we have normal, eco, tow and haul mode, slippery, and back to normal. Then down here again, we have our storage here for coins. Yeah, and then our shifter over here, it's just our normal Ford Ranger shifter with our buttons, and you can hear that the car is actually making that sound because our parking brake is up, which I also appreciate, because other vehicles will tell you that your parking brake is up when you reach a certain speed. At least this one, once you put the vehicle in gear, it will tell you to put down your parking brake. And also, I forgot to mention that our horn over here, so it's just our usual Ford Ranger horn. Sounds really good actually. It's not the one that you get in the Ford Everest, but it does sound really good still. Then going back here to the center console, again, our traditional parking brake is over here. There we go. And then our two cup holders, which can actually hold our bottle, so you can see it fits really well, very easy. And then our center armrest here with storage underneath. Although I did notice that this center armrest is actually hard touch plastic. It would be nicer if it was padded leather. Then going to the seats, we of course have some really nice seats on this new Ranger, and it's wrapped in a very nice fabric material as well. Doesn't feel cheap at all despite being fabric, since most people associate fabric seats with being cheap. So it's actually really nice, and it has a nice pattern as well. It's really soft and very supportive, which is really nice. Then they're manually adjustable, but that's okay. Now we're here at the back of the Ranger XLT, and there are a lot of changes here compared to the Wildtrak we looked at before. That's expected considering the fact that this is a mid variant. So first, we have storage area here in the center. So no longer aircon vents, we have storage here instead. Then down here, we have a 12-volt power outlet. And of course, materials are a bit different as well. So hard touch plastic on top, which is the same, but also hard touch plastic here in the side, like in front. Then of course, we still have our leather armrest over here, which is really nice. Then for space, it's pretty much the same, of course. So we have lots of leg room. Footroom is also plentiful. Headroom, really good. Then the seats themselves are very comfortable still compared to the previous generation especially, but they're still not as comfortable as something as like a Nissan Navara or Isuzu D-Max, but these are good as they are. Then we also have here in the center an armrest, so we have to pull this strap. There we go. And over here are two cup holders and a really nicely positioned armrest. So I guess now we can take this on a test drive. So now we're gonna drive the Ford Ranger XLT, but while we're still waiting at a traffic light intersection, let's talk about the engine. So this is powered by a 2-liter EcoBlue single turbo diesel engine that produces 170 horsepower and 405 Newton meters of torque paired to a 6-speed automatic transmission. So if you're familiar with the Ranger and Everest lineup, the previous generation, you'll know that these specifications are actually a bit of a downgrade compared to before, but at the same time, it feels like it was an upgrade actually because how it performs. So first things first, now that we're moving, acceleration feels a lot better. It feels a lot more responsive. There is no longer any lag. It just feels really good, in other words. So to keep things simple, it feels really, really good, and that's something that I really appreciate. So it's also very quick actually. And then when it comes to the transmission, which is the largest change here, so like I mentioned, we now have a 6-speed automatic transmission. Before we used to have a 10-speed, now we have less gears at 6-speed automatic transmission again. And then anyway, so it shifts a lot smoother now. It no longer hunts for gears. The previous one used to hunt for gears a lot. It was basically a very confused transmission. Although as much as they improved that for the bi-turbo, this 6-speed is still a lot better. It shifts a lot smoother. It's just basically better overall. And of course, the fact that we now have less gears also guarantees better reliability in the long run. So that's something that's very important, especially with the critics of this brand. So maybe hopefully we no longer see any problems with this new old transmission. And then when it comes to handling, like right now we're going a bit of a curve, so we don't have much body roll, so that's another improvement here. So Ford has lessened the body roll that this car experiences because we have a stiffer suspension now. And also, steering itself is actually really light. So that's a Ford Ranger hallmark or Ford Ranger signature, also for the Everest. So they actually lightened it up right now. So it feels really good actually, especially now that we're driving inside the city. But once you do get on the highway, it does weight up a bit, which is of course very important. But also at the same time, even if it's very light in the city, they've also made it a bit heavier compared to before, because most customers were actually complaining that the steering of this vehicle is too light. So now they've listened to that, they've fixed it. It is actually the perfect weight in my opinion. And then when it comes to the size of the vehicle, this actually feels very big when you see it. When you look out the window of these very wide windows, by the way, and very wide windshield, it feels very big. So there is that. But at the same time, it doesn't feel too big thanks to that very light steering. Or maybe it's also a factor that I just showed you the Mitsubishi Strada Rally Art last week, and that's actually very narrow and is a lot wider than that. But still, it doesn't feel too big, and it's actually very easy to drive this vehicle in tight spaces. And then another huge improvement for this vehicle is NVH insulation and the ride quality. So let's talk about the ride quality first, because this pickup truck doesn't feel like a pickup truck. It actually feels like an SUV. So that's something that's really good, because it's actually very plush for a pickup truck. So we still have a leaf spring suspension at the back, but that isn't a problem over here. And also, the very thick tires actually contribute, I guess, to this very smooth ride. It really absorbs bumps really well. Even the bumpiest roads actually feel okay with this pickup truck. And then when it comes to road noise, any vibrations, this vehicle is very refined. So road noise is very quiet. The engine noise is very well suppressed in this cabin. You don't really hear it, especially when you're driving lower speeds. But of course, when it comes to harder accelerations, you'll hear it. It's a diesel, it's given. But for a diesel powered vehicle, pickup truck, it's really quiet, and it's really just amazing what was improved. But there is also some hints of wind noise at higher speeds on the highway, but that's given considering the vehicle's boxier shape. And now for fuel economy, it's another improvement for this Ford Ranger. So inside the city, we were able to achieve as much as 12 kilometers per liter, which is no surprise considering the previous generation was able to do around the same. Then on the highway, we can do as much as 20 kilometers per liter, which is really excellent for a vehicle in this segment. Now to end this review, is the Ford Ranger XLT worth it? Of course, I will say yes, because let's consider the fact that everything here is, well, everything is new, everything is techy, everything is modern, everything is what you want in a new pickup truck. Then we have, of course, the excellent ride quality, excellent NVH insulation, excellent driving performance. Everything with this vehicle is great, and I must say that Ford has really done a great job with this product that they're giving us. And then also there's that price, which is very affordable. It's priced pretty much the same or a bit lower than most of its competitors, which is unheard of with the other brands. So Ford has really priced this very competitively. It makes it an even better deal, and it gives you a lot of value for money. Even if you're just getting a mid variant, or rather a lower variant, this is definitely one of the best pickup trucks that you can buy out there, if not the best.